Jesus or Moses? Sometimes we have to make a choice, and you just can't harmonize the two. Let me give you a classic example. Look what Moses said that God told him to do with Israelite sons who were rebellious and drank and ate. Listen, Deuteronomy 21:18-21. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and though they discipline him, will not listen to them, then his father and his mother shall take hold of him, bring him out to the elders of his city, at the gate of the place where he lives, to the gate of the property. And they shall say to the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of the city shall stone him to death with stones. Now, how can you really believe that this is the God and Father of Jesus? Now, you can do some fancy footwork with the genocide passages of killing the Canaanites and say, oh, they were offering their children to pagan gods and sexually abusing them and then burning them in the fire. And that's why God said to kill them all. But this is your son. Take him to the gate of the property, have him showered with stones to death because he eats too much and drinks too much alcohol and is rebellious. Do you really think Jesus approves of this? Really? And Moses said that God told him to do that. An Israelite boy. Did Jesus ever comment on this passage? You better believe it. Jesus told a very famous story of the prodigal son, the rebellious boy. And who did he tell this story to? The experts in the writings of Moses. In Luke 15:1, we are told clearly that the scribes, which were the experts in the law, and the Pharisees, who were the teachers of the law, whinged and complained that Jesus receives sinners and eats with them. So experts in the writing of Moses. And now Jesus answers their complaint with the story of a rebellious son. And they knew that this boy should be stoned to death at the gate of his property. But what do we find out? The boy sins against his father in the worst possible way. Dad, give me my share of the inheritance. You say, if an Italian does that, you're saying, Dad, I wish you were dead. And the Jews took it the same way. Worst possible sin on an earthly level against your earthly father. And then what does he do? He goes out rebelliously, drinking, eating, feeding pigs with the prostitutes, blew the inheritance. And then he comes out and he comes back home. He's a rebellious son, remember? So what are the Pharisees and the scribes expecting Jesus to say? As he approaches the gate, we would expect the father to run up there to the gate, call the elders of the city and say, stone him to death in harmony with the law of Moses. The father ran to the gate. And remember, the Pharisees, the experts in Moses, are listening to this. You little beauty! He's going to now get him stoned according to the law of Moses. And we are experts in the law of Moses. But instead, the text says this, Luke 15:20. And he rose and he came to his father, but while he was still a long way off, the rebellious son returns home. His father saw him and had compassion before he opened his mouth, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. Instead of showering the boy with stones at the gate, he showered the boy with embraces and kisses. And when he did this, Jesus turfed Moses right out the window. And there's no wonder why the Pharisees couldn't stand Jesus. This was scandalous grace. Sometimes it's Moses or Jesus, and you can't harmonize the two. I choose Jesus. He revealed the Father fully. Moses never could. God bless you.